Today we will install a fully frameless shower door. The shower door will have a fixed panel on this wall and then have a door which will hinge off of the wall over here. A couple quick notes at the beginning is it's best to have your walls as plumb as possible, and also on your hinge wall to have wood backing in the wall to support the hinges. And we'll go ahead and start by opening up the boxes, and we'll install the side panel first. We'll go ahead and start with the door installation. There's a few different ways to do it. You can install the door first and then put the side panel up. We will install the side panel first and dry fit it, and once that's in place we'll go ahead and line up the shower door, the hinge door. The reason for starting with the side panel first and then moving on to the door is to make sure we have them both lined up. So to start with the side panel, the first step is to determine where your bottom track will be. You just want to make sure you have it far enough inside so that when the hinge is lined up, it's not going to extend past the front of the shower. So I went ahead and made a mark here and a mark here. I'm going to go ahead and just tape this channel in place. Once the channel's been taped in place, we'll go ahead and put the side jamb up and make sure it's plumb, and then we'll mark the holes. After the holes are marked, we're just going to pre-drill a 1/4 inch hole through the Onyx wall panels. After the holes are drilled, we're going to go ahead and remove the bottom channel and clean off the curb track. And the bottom channel has a very high strength, clear, waterproof double stick tape on it, and that's what will hold it in place. So remove the backing and be very careful, because once it's set, the double stick tape will hold it in place and we won't be able to remove it. You got to make sure it goes down in just the right spot. When the bottom track is set in place, we're going to go ahead and attach the top track to the wall. Go ahead and get the screws started. Once the side jamb is installed and attached to the wall, start with the large setting blocks. Just put a couple of them in the track, then set the glass panel. And then move it over into the wall channel. Side panel's been installed, it's dry fitted, so it's not permanently installed with the silicone yet, and we're going to go ahead and measure up for the door and put the door in. Now the doors are normally 28 inches wide, and with a 28 inch wide door, that's the glass size, and you do want a gap on your hinge side and also a gap in between the side panel. Now normally there's a 1/4 inch gap in between the door and the wall, and then there's about a 1/4 inch gap between the door and the side panel. So with a 28 inch piece of glass for the door and a 1/4 inch and a 1/4 inch gap, it should be about a 28.5 inch opening. And we're right at about 28 3/4, but we do have the flexibility to adjust and pull out the glass. So we're okay for now. We're going to go ahead and put the hinges on the door and then set the door in place mark the holes for the hinges, and then pre-drill, and then screw the hinges into the wall with the door on it. Okay, lay out the door on a flat surface, and go ahead and attach the hinges to the door. There's going to be different black vinyls, little gaskets. Take the thinner ones, set them aside, and you want to use the thicker ones for the 3/8 glass. Set the hinge inside the notch, locate the rubber, set the plate on top, and simply tighten the screws. With the door in place, we have the setting blocks down, the 1/2-inch tall setting blocks. Our next step is to line up the door down at the bottom. Make sure our distance from the front of the curb is consistent all the way across, so the door is in line with the side panel. And we want it to be in line with the side panel all the way up to the top. Once everything is lined up, we'll go ahead and mark for the drilling of the holes for the hinges, and then we'll remove the glass, and then drill the holes, and then mount the door. So the holes are now drilled for the hinges. We went ahead and moved the side panel off to the side for a moment just to give us better access. Once the holes are drilled, we set the door in place. Just going to take the hinge screws and go ahead and attach the hinges to the wall. So the door has been fastened to the wall, the screws have been tightened, and then also the Allen screws on the hinges have also been tightened, and the door is in place. And we also made sure that the door was plumb on the end here. So once that is all finished, go ahead and open the door out of the way and set the side panel back in the track, and then we'll position that correctly. When you go to set the side panel back in the track, make sure your setting blocks are still in the side panel. So using the spacers that come with the shower door, we kept resetting the glass until the glass was in line and level with the shower door, and the gap was consistent all the way top to bottom. So at this point, what we will do is we'll keep our spacers intact down on the track. We'll remove the shower door and we'll put dabs of silicone along the tracks, and then we'll set the glass back in. That silicone will hold the glass in place. Once we have the glass back in, then our final step will be to run a bead of silicone down the channel, in between the channel and the glass, to seal up the glass channel. So we'll go ahead and remove the glass now and put our dabs of silicone in. So we put silicone in the track and set the glass panel into the track. Made sure it's still lined up well with the door. Flat up top, and also the consistent gap. At this point, it's kind of the final sealing. We'll run a bead of silicone between the channel and the glass. A very small bead, but that'll keep the water from going inside the channel. After this panel's been siliconed in, pretty much there's a couple more steps. Next one would be installing the handle and then assemble it through the glass. and connect the inside part of the handle to the screws and then tighten the Allen screws. After the handle's installed, the next step is to install the vinyl drip sweep on the bottom of the door. Just simply put the drip sweep on the bottom edge of the door, snap it into place, and the door should open and close freely. Good. Final step to help seal up the shower. Now remember, we have a gap in between the shower door and the side panel, and also a gap between the door and the wall. If a lot of water will be splashing and hitting these gaps, you may want to use one of our vinyl seals. We have a bubble vinyl, which is a very small bubble vinyl, generally gets put on the side panel. Or we have a T-vinyl, which is a larger vinyl for larger gaps. Often that can be used on the wall side, especially if a wall is a little bit out of plumb and your gap is a little larger in places. So that completes the shower door installation video. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please feel free to call us at the Onyx collection. Thank you.